Six signs that you're not ovulating, even though you're seeing your period every month. What is going on? Because this can be confusing, especially for those of us that wants to get pregnant. You're wondering what is happening. But Google said if I'm seeing my period, it means I'm ovulating. What am I missing? What am I missing? So first, you need to understand what ovulation is and the phases of a menstrual cycle. Ovulation is the release, I put it, successful release of a matured egg from the ovary. And this happens during the ovulation phase. We have four phases of a menstrual cycle. Number one is the menstrual phase. That is your bleeding phase, which usually lasts for 3 to 7 days, depending on your cycle length. Then we have the follicular phase, usually 11 to 17 days, again, depending on your cycle length. Then the ovulation phase, which lasts for 24 hours. If you don't know that ovulation lasts for 24 hours, please know it. What you have preceding the so-called as if ovulation has taken place is called the fertile phase of your menstrual cycle. That is what leads to the ovulation phase. Then we have the luteal phase. That is when ovulation has taken place, and this usually lasts between 11 to 17 days, again, depending on your cycle length. After the egg has been released, it travels at the ampulla of the fallopian tube, where it gets fertilized and it travels down. Assuming that the egg is released and you're not trying to get pregnant, but eventually it travels down, no fertilization happened, you're still supposed to see your period. In this case, now we're talking about you think you're seeing your period every month, but you are not ovulating. What is the problem? The thing is that we have different ovulation disorders. And again, that bleeding you're seeing, that flow you're seeing, is really not the true flow. Usually is referred to as breakthrough period. Because at the phase of your menstrual cycle, the estrogen gets on board. It gets to spike in preparation for the endometrial lining. What it does is that it thickens the endometrial lining. And at the luteal phase, the progesterone comes on board to maintain that thickness. Okay, in a situation whereby you constantly have estrogen level coming up to thicken the endometrial lining, what happens in that case when successful ovulation did not happen, when matured egg is not released, is that at a certain point in time, for some persons, they will just, the body will be like, we're giving this up. Nothing is happening, okay? You will not have that breakthrough period. For some persons, that is where I say we have different ovulation disorder. For some persons, that thickening, it could lead to another thing. The period could cease, it could start to miss, or that endometrial thickness, because of estrogen spike, will cause other issues like growth of fibroid, adenomyosis, endometriosis to come up. And in that case now, progesterone is no longer involved in maintaining it. So for you to have a true period, estrogen and progesterone must be working hand in hand. Your progesterone should be up, your estrogen equally should be up, and at the right time. At the right time, the first phase of the menstrual cycle, the estrogen is supposed to be up. It's supposed to be up. At the second phase, the luteal phase, that estrogen is supposed to be down. It's supposed to be down so that progesterone will take over. An imbalance in this could be the reason why you are seeing your period without knowing that successful ovulation is not taking place. Because after successful ovulation, corpus luteum cyst forms. This is a sign that yes, progesterone has taken over. And how do you even know that you are ovulating? In terms of, oh, is there any test I can do? One of those tests you can do is progesterone test. That is when the corpus luteum has taken over, is now producing progesterone, helping to, stabilize, maintain that uterine lining and make it very, very conducive in case if fertilization has taken place so that implantation can happen. A lot of us don't know the difference between our ovulation, our fertile days, luteal phase, menstrual phase. If you've not started charting your cycle, now will be a good time for you to start charting your cycle. Although that we have so many apps now that women now use, but manual chatting is still best for you. It helps you be highly intentional. Nothing takes you unaware. App is app. You putting your human intelligence to chat is a different thing altogether. So number one sign that you're seeing your period but you're not ovulating is constant positive testing to luteinizing hormone strip test. Usually you want to track your ovulation, you want to start with ovulation test strip. And that test strip measures luteinizing hormone. All right. So each phase of your cycle, whether you're in your menstrual phase, in your ovulation phase, in your luteal phase, you notice that you keep testing positive to that luteinizing hormone. Something is off. What usually happens at that time is that luteinizing hormone is constantly high. And that is as a result of misinterpretation from brain communication. This usually happens for women that are dealing with polycystic ovarian syndrome because their body keep getting a signal that, oh, the egg has not released, keep producing luteinizing hormone, and it keep doing that. And the luteinizing hormone keep getting spiked. No matter the phase of your menstrual cycle that you do a ovulation test, you keep getting a positive test. It can be frustrating. Number two is no libido surge. Usually between your fertile days and your ovulation day, you're supposed to have a libido surge. That is an increased sex urge. Because yes, your body is getting ready to actually get copulated so that yes, you can have a baby. Your body does not know physiologically whether you're married or not. All it does that every phase of your cycle, it gives you all the hormonal support. So for some persons that are not married, when you start getting that libido surge and all of it, it's not a sign for you to start misbehaving. But for people that are married, you notice that it's a sign for, oh, looks like I'm about to ovulate and I want to get pregnant. It's time for me to get to work. All right. Number three is no ovulation pain. You don't get that middle pain at any of your same pelvic area, whether the left or the right. Because as a woman, you ovulate either from the left ovary or the right ovary at every phase, every cycle of the month. All right. Then number four is you don't get to see any fetal cervical discharge. Nothing at all. The egg white discharge is not there at all. This is why, because hormones are not balanced. Especially women that are dealing with PCOS, you notice that every phase of your cycle, you always have milky discharge, cheesy-like discharge, thick discharge, unfertile discharge, and it's getting you worried. And sometimes you see your period. You will see your period because of the previous explanation I said, but indeed, ovulation is not happening. Next, you're not getting pregnant, even though you'll be having unprotected intimacy. That is a sign that something is off. Okay. Usually you're supposed to check yourself. Your partner is supposed to check himself too. But most times women take it upon themselves to check out themselves. They notice they've been having intimacy without any protection and they're not getting pregnant. Okay. So they will just go ahead and just conclude that ovulation is not happening. These are signs you can see before you take it a step further and say, oh, I actually want to do a hormonal profile test to know where I am in my hormones. Next is there is no temperature spike. You don't get that fertile ovulation temperature spike to correspond that yes, progesterone has come on board because it warms you up. How will you know this? If you're chatting, you will know. Chatting your temperature, somebody that is very intentional, you will know. And checking your temperature is not about you've done your day-to-day activity, you start checking. No. You want to check your basal body temperature as soon as you wake up from bed, knowing your ovulation day, you check and see if there is any spike. But before then, you must have been tracking your pre-ovulation days. You must have been tracking from the fertile days, from the follicular phase to actually know if there's any spike in your ovulation day, then you cannot conclude. All right. Then finally, you notice that your cycle length is shorter than 21 days or longer than 35 days. Is a sure sign that you are not ovulating and yet you are seeing your period. Go ahead, like and share this video. I'm